Welcome, friends, to another episode of LSR Live. I have been looking forward to this episode. Those of you who watch the shorts feed, you know I'm very excited about this one. We're going to have a special guest, Sprouting with Steve. Oh, a good friend of mine, Steve Wohlberg, Pastor Steve, who also is a health message enthusiast. In addition to being in ministry, he's going to teach us about sprouting. And you bring your questions. You guys, we're live right now, 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Central on Wednesdays. So those of you who are live, get in the chat, load up your questions about sprouting for later. So that's the introduction. We'll bring our guest up in just a second, but I have to do this, guys. It happened again. My family fighting something this past week. 3 out of the 4 family members had to, really fight it off. I got aggressive with Revitagard throat spray, with Revita sinus nasal spray, as you've heard me say, like 4 times that things have gone through my family the past cold and flu season. Bam, just hit the throat with the Revitagard. That one's tasty. The reason this one gets, this stuff is a sensation at the LSR store. Use that QR code. And the reason is not only because it works, but it works because people actually use it because this is tasty. The sinus takes a little more self-discipline to use, but it's highly effective. The iodine and the other stuff in there that we don't name on this platform. Go to the store page, see what's in it. You'll understand why these things are hard to keep on the shelves. And just while I'm at it, hand sanitizers. You can protect yourself from what's coming your way when you're out and about. There's the unscented, or if you like the lavender or the citrus. I'm curious what you guys' favorite scent is. It's not a flavor. Do not consume internally your hand sanitizer. So it's not a flavor. It's a scent. So if I've ever misspoken. But I've got a whole packet here of you guys' comments about these. Let me just read one of them. One person says, while my friends and coworkers are sick, I am very amazed that all the colds and even flu bugs, I'll stop there. Health claim removed, because we do not diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness by using these products. But you can boost your immune system with it. And that's why people keep saying things like, from the children that I babysit who are continually sick with colds, I do believe these products have, and fill in the blank there if you would like. So that's it as far as our opener. It helps make this program possible when you make your purchases of the Revita Living immune boosting products at the LSR store. And by the way, thank you, Jeremy, for reminding me of that. The big event is coming. It is this coming week in Ringgold, Georgia. It's not too late to actually book your registration and come in person with Barbara O'Neill and LSR. It's going to be an awesome event. And if those who can't come in person, there's the QR code for the virtual attendance registration, so you can be a part of the live Q&A with Barbara every single day. Listen to all her lectures on a variety of topics. If you want to know some of those topics, go into the shorts feed on the YouTube of LSR and listen to the shorts of what's happening at this event in Ringgold, Georgia. You'll hear all about the different programs that she's going to be running. But today's program, Sprouting with Steve. Welcome, Steve Wohlberg. He's got such a professional setup and good quality audio. I love that. You've always been a step ahead of me on that, sir. But what are you going to be telling us about today with the sprouting? Give us a little preview, a little intro, or just roll right into it if you'd like, and we'll chat all the way through.
Sure, yeah. Thank you, Scott. It's great to be on LSR Live, and I guess with Jeremy invisibly behind the scenes pushing buttons. Jeremy and I are friends, and you and I are friends. And, most people that know me know that my forte is Bible prophecy. I teach on prophecy topics in the book of Revelation. I'm also a husband to my wife, Kristen, and a dad to Seth and Abby. I'm a gardener. I like my orchard. And I have a lot of hats that I wear, but one of my hats is sprouting. Growing sprouts and microgreens. Some people know that, other people don't. I actually teach a course that people can find at sproutingwithsteve.com. I've been growing sprouts since I was a teenager. Even in my lost BC days before Christ, when I was going to the nightclubs and using drugs, marijuana, alcohol, and all the bad things of this world. In Southern California, when I was just a lost person, somehow I started getting into growing sprouts and microgreens as a teenager. And I think the reason why I did it was because somewhere in the back of my mind, I knew that I was doing a lot of bad things for my body, so I needed to start doing something good. So I started growing all kinds of sprouts. And when I became a Christian, when I was 20 years old, I gave up the bad habits, but I kept the good habits, which was, growing healthy food. So I've been doing it for over, boy, it's been probably about 50 years. I'm now almost 66, and I've been growing sprouts and microgreens for a long time. So happy to talk about it and answer any questions about it.
Yeah. And Jeremy, I think you got, yeah. Am I coming through okay, Pastor Steve?
Your voice is a little spotty, but I can still hear it.
Okay.
As long as other
Okay.
people hear it fine, then we'll
I
work with
was
that.
I was muted for a moment, but sprouting and microgreens, in addition to a generally healthy diet where you're avoiding junk food, eating whole plant foods, nutritious food, give us a perspective on why sprouting and microgreens. These are very special nutrient boosts to our diet, aren't they?
Yeah, they certainly are. I've written a little book called Sprout Power. It's a small book available from White Horse Media. I have a bigger book called End Times Health War that talks about juicing, sprouting, the 8 laws of health, a whole lot of topics. It's interesting, Scott. I don't know if you're aware of this, but today Robert Kennedy Jr. is on the firing line for the Senate confirmation hearings. Trump has picked him to become the new director of American Health, which would put him, if he gets confirmed, over the FDA, the CDC, the NIH, and all kinds of government agencies. And his ultimate focus is to try to make America healthy again, focusing on less chemicals, more real food. And I don't imagine he's talking about sprouting, but the reality is that if we eat good plant-based food, we're doing a lot of good for our bodies, along with exercise and getting a good night's sleep and getting sunlight. But when we grow sprouts and microgreens, we're getting an additional boost. There's nothing more natural than a seed. And when you take a seed and put it in water and it starts to germinate, the nutrient profile within the seed just multiplies off the charts. So different vitamins and minerals just start multiplying. As the seed gets bigger and it starts becoming a little plant, it's just loaded with nutrition. And so to learn how to grow these things on our own is a very powerful boost to a person's health. When you grow sprouts and microgreens, you're getting organic food that's not sprayed, no pesticides. You're doing it in your own home. There's no nutritional, devaluation because of the transit time to go from the crop to the truck and into the produce section of the market. You're getting live food that builds up your immune system, gives you nutrients to strengthen every cell in your body. And I've done a lot of homework on this, a lot of research on this. And as a 66-year-old, I like to jog. I still run up in the hills. I swim. I went to the gym a couple nights ago where I work out, and I believe that my habit of growing a lot of sprouts in my home and eating them regularly has really helped my body and contributed to the fact that I really don't have very many health problems. I don't have any pain in my body right now. I'm very thankful for that. Thank the Lord. And I'm a big believer in learning how to do this in your own home yourself for pennies a day. It doesn't take a lot of time once you learn what to do. And, why not give your body a powerful nutritional boost by growing sprouts from little seeds and microgreens, which are the plants getting bigger and getting some sunlight so they start greening up. That's what a microgreen is. And it's a great habit, good to learn about.
Well, I'm glad to be listening because it's a habit I want to form myself. And a while back, I was doing some research on what foods are the most nutrient dense with this nutrient, with that nutrient, with this vitamin, with that mineral, with this amino acid, and so on. I was just going down the profile of every single nutrient, and I wanted to know what food is best in each of these. And so many times it was such and such sprouts, this kind of sprouts. And, because they had included that. It's a food, right? I mean, so when you're doing this, you're getting the most nutrient packed calorie for calorie, is what I mean by nutrient dense. Calorie for calorie, you're getting more nutrients than eating just about anything, aren't you?
That's right, you are. They've done studies that if you take, like, let's say, a broccoli seed. So a broccoli seed is a little tiny seed, and of course you can grind it up and you can, use it as a flour. There's a lot of nutrition there. If you grow that little seed into a sprout, you have more nutrition. If you grow it into a microgreen where it gets a little bit bigger and it gets greened up from sunlight coming from your window, when you have the broccoli sprouts in your tray or the broccoli microgreens, you get even more. And finally, when it gets bigger, like the broccoli in your garden, when you cut a head of broccoli. So the seed goes through all these phases. You've got the seed, the sprout, the microgreen, and then the full plant in the garden. And researchers have looked at this and they've studied the nutrient value of every stage. And they've concluded that the microgreen stage is even better than the full broccoli head in the garden. Pound for pound, if you eat a pound of broccoli from your garden, and if you eat a pound of broccoli microgreens, you're getting way more nutrition from the microgreens. So there's a
Yeah.
whole science behind this, and I can teach people how to do this. It's not hard. Most people don't sprout or grow microgreens because they just don't know what to do. But that's what Sprouting with Steve is all about. It's teaching people how to do it.
Yeah. Well, I want folks to go to your course. And what was the URL? Say that URL again, but also give us a little tutorial, like an intro course on how to sprout. Oh, yeah, there's the QR code. Jeremy's got it right up there for you. So feel free to share that
Yes.
URL as well. But, walk us through. So I know you got some pictures that I got a little preview of
I
some of
do.
the product that you've come up with in your sprouting exploits. But share with us a little tutorial too on so folks can walk away with like, I think this is doable for me. I've got some of the
Yeah,
how to, and I'm going to follow that and do the course.
it's very doable, sure. And for those who can't scan in that code, the website is sproutingwithsteve.com. Pretty simple. And before I go show you the pictures, let me just show you something that I've got here. This is a jar of lentil sprouts. So I don't know how well you can see this. If I put this up closer to the camera, maybe you can see there's a whole lot of these little guys that are the seed, and they have little tails on them. So they're sprouts. And how did I grow these? I'll tell you. I grew these. I started these 3 days ago. So what I did was 3 days ago I was in my house and I put about this much dry lentils, about an inch of dry lentils in this jar. It's a mason jar. And I've got a sprouting lid, which you can buy on Amazon, or you don't need these lids. You can use just a regular strainer. So I put the seeds in the jar, and then I filled it up with water. And I soaked them for about 6 hours, Sunday afternoon. Today's Wednesday. And within about 6 hours, the seeds had doubled in size because they were now activated. The water had come into them, and they were starting to grow. And so this is what I tell people, that you give your seeds a bath one time, which was when I soaked them. And then after 6 hours, I poured out all the water, and I used my little lid here. So I poured out all the water. You want to get all the water out. And then you give them a bath twice a day, or even with lentils, just even once a day. So Sunday, I soaked them, poured out the water. On Monday, I took the lid off, put some water in there, and poured it out just to keep them moist. Tuesday, I took the lid off, poured the water in. Actually, sometimes because they have a little holes here, you can just use your faucet and the water will go right in. And so you give them a soak and pour the water out. And now it's been 3 days and they just grew right up to the top. And now I've got a whole jar of lentil sprouts that are loaded with vitamin E and different nutrients. And so what I'm going to do probably today, these are ready. All I have to do is take my lid off and pour them into my salad. And I've got live food screaming with nutrition. It took me seconds per day to grow these. Anybody can do it. Lentils are the easiest to grow. You can also do this with peas. You can do this with mung. You can do this with grains like rye. There's barley. They all sprout very well the same way. And all you do is you put the seeds in, soak them for 5 or 6 hours. Sometimes, if you want, you can soak them overnight. And then the next day, pour out all the water, stick the jar on your sink or on your counter somewhere or in a cupboard, and then keep them moist once or twice a day. Pour out all the water out, and in 3 to 4 days, you'll have a jar full of sprouts. And it doesn't cost hardly any money to do this. It's very simple. Everybody can do it. People say, "Well, I don't have a green thumb." So what? You can do this. People say, "Well, I don't have time to grow sprouts." Well, yes, you do. You've got seconds per day. You can do it. And there's a lot of other things you can grow. So let's look at some of those pictures. If we can, maybe Jeremy can pick this up. Okay, here I am with some mustard greens and arugula and some tatsoi sprouts, and they're growing. Actually, those are microgreens because they've gotten bigger. So let's go to the next picture. I'm going to show you some buckwheat. I love to grow buckwheat. It's a mild lettuce that grows really well, and it's full of nutrition. So the next one that I really like to grow is sunflower. There's a big tray of sunflower greens. Sunflower are the king of microgreens, and they are so good in a salad. My wife likes it. My kids like it. We all like it. And then here's another one with peas. These are peas that you grow in a jar, just like I did with the lentils. And here is one other that I really like, and that is purple Rambo radish. It's got a nice kick. I'm growing those in a little tray. I put the seeds in there, and I sprinkle them with water, and I just keep them moist, and then they just grow. They grow right up. So, and then I put all these in my salads, and I have, so we can take that picture off. I think I've got them all. So, and I do this especially during the winter months. Jeremy, can you take that picture off? Thank you. So I do, Scott, where I live in North Idaho, I'm in my garden in the spring and in the summer, but when the fall comes and it gets cold and the snow comes down, the sprouts come up. So I've got them growing all year round, in whether my garden or my sprouts. And I just, I praise the Lord. I've learned how to do this. When you add different, avocado, lemon, different kinds of things into your salad. I tell you, if you've never eaten a completely live salad with lots of good, things that you add that you like your nutritional yeast or whatever you put in there, I tell you, you're missing something if you've never eaten a fully live, organic, fresh salad that you grow yourself. So I love it. I thank the Lord for providing these beautiful things. And hopefully the pictures have created a little mouth watering in your mouth, and you're thinking, I want to do this. And if you do, your body will be very happy.
Oh, yeah. And you can tell the difference in the way you feel when you start eating healthy. I know many of our listeners, we've heard your testimonies on that sort of thing. And when you take another step, you start sprouting and doing the microgreens, your body thanks you when you feed it the nutrition that it needs, and disease reduction, feeling better, more active at 66, like Pastor Steve said. You would have had us fooled, I think, by the way, because we age better when we're eating this way. And, one thing that struck me as you were going through those is how beautiful they are. It's like this is God's work of art that is just so beautiful. And then you put it on the salad, and you enjoy it, and it's tasty. And in addition to that, the benefits that you get. But another thing that I was thinking, many people look at gardening and country living and all the benefits of growing your own food, and they feel stuck in the city, and that can be so depressing. And if you just flip on the TV and lock yourself indoors in the winter months and eat junk food, yeah, you're going to end up depressed. But if you take little steps like, you know what, I'm in an apartment in the city. Right now, I can take this step and I can do this. I can start sprouting. and I'm growing a garden without even, I mean, with the microgreens, they need sunlight, but the sprouts don't even need sun, right?
Exactly, that's right. And that's one of the big pros of learning how to grow sprouts is you can do it even if you don't have land, if you don't have a garden, if you don't have an orchard, if you don't have a green thumb, if you don't have a lot of money. There's a guy named Steve Meyerowitz, and he used to be called the Sprout Man. He was world famous. He died, I think, in a car accident in his 60s. Tests showed that he had the cardiovascular system of a teenager. And what happened was he learned he was living in New York in an apartment. He had all kinds of allergies. He was sick. And then he started sprouting in his apartment. He turned his kitchen into a little garden. And the more he ate these sprouts and microgreens, his allergies went away. And he just became like a crusader for sprouting. And he's written books. I've read some of his books, and he just demonstrated that you don't need a garden or land outside somewhere. You can do it in your kitchen, in your little apartment, and you don't need a lot of tools. All you need is a jar to get started. So it's a great thing to do. In my course, Scott, I teach people, first of all, how to grow sprouts, lots of different kinds. And then I have a whole section on how to grow the microgreens in soil. And then the last section is on how to grow microgreens out without soil, just they call it hydroponically. So I give people lots of options, and people love it. They love it.
That's nice. That's wonderful. Well, tell us, as far as people clicking on that link, that QR code and getting your course, what is the course experience like? Is it so many sessions? Is it, just give us a little bit of an understanding of what the course is in addition to what you've said so far.
Sure. Yeah, there is a small cost. It's minimal. It's under $50, and it's a one-time fee for the rest of your life. And that's because we put a lot of time into building the website, doing the video, the recording, etc. So when people click and join the course, they automatically get an email back that gives them login information to a private website that they then log into, and then they will be able to see a whole section on introducing what they're doing, video clips with me and interviews, some other interviews I did with other people. And then there's the whole section on how to grow sprouts, and then the microgreens in soil and out of soil. And when they click on these, it's all video. So they watch me with my jar. They see me put the seeds in. They see me soak them. They see what they look like the next day, then the next day, then the next day. They get all the practical, hands-on information that's very simple. I also direct them to a website where they can get all their supplies and their seeds, or they can just go to the market and buy lentils. Just about anybody can do that. So that's basically what it is. It's a video course where they see me. Sometimes my daughter is in it. She taste tests and she looks at the camera. And this was when she was a little girl, and she'll say, "You can do this. You can do this." So it's kind of a family. It's a family course that we recorded a few years ago, and a lot of people have joined the course. They've emailed me. They told me they really like it. One woman told me that her husband had all kinds of neurological issues. And once their family started growing all these microgreens, it improved his health condition significantly. And so we've gotten lots of testimonials from people. Like I said, it's not expensive. One time, it'll cost you less than when you go to Walmart and go to the market, and you'll learn things that will benefit your body for the rest of your life.
I'm thinking about doing that. The way you described the videos, it's like I would want literally the step by step because I have no idea what I'm doing.
Yeah,
So let me watch video number one and do it. Like while I'm
that's right.
watching you do it, I'm doing it. And
That's right.
then pause. Like I'm not watching, tomorrow or tonight until it's tonight. And then I go back and see exactly what do I do now. Because
That's
otherwise,
right.
if I don't have somebody walking me through something like that is so foreign to me, I'm just like, I'm just gonna mess this up. And I've heard like if you don't do it right, you can actually leave the water in there too long or something. That's gonna mess things up, right?
That's right. And I explain all that in the course. And you do. You see me, going through this. So you see it, from seed to the sprout or the plant. Those pictures that I just showed you of me and the buckwheat lettuce and the sunflower greens, the purple Rambo radish, I demonstrate all those seeds in the course. I show you the tray, I put the dirt in, which is really just anything you can get like at Walmart or Ace Hardware. Any nursery has a bag. You can buy these bags of organic potting soil. So I walk you through this. I explain the tips, different things to do, what not to do. And it's very simple. And so people can follow it. You know, you will be able to follow it. The motto of the course, many times I'll say on the videos, and Abby will say it, we'll look at the people through the camera and we'll say, you can do this. You
Mm.
can do it. That's the motto. And anybody can. You just have to take a step and get started. And you have lots of options. So you can start with the simple things. You can work your way to the microgreens that take a little more effort. But there's something for everybody. And it works. And again, your body will bless you. You'll be excited to join the sprouting community and be guided by Pastor Steve, Sprouting with Steve.
You know what? It sounds fun. It sounds like a homeschool project. You know, I'm a homeschool dad, and I'm thinking I got to check this out with my wife and see if our kids would get into that, doing that together as a family. And you know, I've got, as you probably know, Pastor Steve and our listeners, as a Christian, I have a heart for the underprivileged. And as I think about, you know, the recent history, there was a mandated medical treatment, and it was like the government was saying everybody must take it as provided for you, but our patience is wearing thin. And it was all this coercive stuff. And many of us were like, you know what? If you're going to have a government program, give everybody some vitamin D, right? I mean, just something simple. Or if you could have not necessarily government, but, you know, a church outreach to the community where it's like, hey, we're giving you the jars, your first bag of lentils, and just show people how easy it is and get them into it and show people. I believe that's Christ's method alone will bring true success. When you care about people, when you reach out to help with the healing hand of Jesus. And that's really what LSR is all about. It's all about reaching people in their maladies, in their struggles, and giving information that is liberation. Because when you encounter the truth of this health message of the God who created you, whether it's Sprouts or whether it's overcoming diabetes or all the different programs that we do, it's got that underlying really compassion for every human soul as an image bearer of God. That's what drives you to this kind of thing, isn't it?
That's right. That's right. And if you don't mind, I see a comment from
Oh,
Coffee
yeah,
and Jesus,
please.
and it says, "Mold and sprouts go hand in hand in my house." Ugh. There's a solution to that. One problem is that many times people grow microgreens in rooms that are very warm. So you want to keep the room on the cool side, not cold, but not hot. That sometimes will contribute to mold. Now with sprouts, like with lentils, something like this, you grow these in a few days, the chances of you getting mold for something like this is very, very small. It's more when you grow the microgreens. If you grow them in a cooler environment, open the window a little bit, get some air in there. Sunlight also kills mold. But even if you do have a little bit of mold, and I teach this in the course, there's ways to get around that. You have a little spray bottle. If you put some grapeseed extract, or if you put some hydrogen peroxide, just a little bit in there, and spray the mold when the plants are first growing, it'll zap them. And it's not a deal killer if you know what you're doing. Now, of course, if you have a bad batch of seeds and you get a lot of mold, then of course you don't want to eat those. But sometimes you can still have good seeds and you can get a little bit of mold and you can zap it and you can kill it and it'll be gone. So there's ways around this. So
Nice.
Coffee
Nice.
and Jesus, don't be discouraged, try again and God will help you to kill that mold or not have it.
Absolutely. Jeremy, if you want to bring up other comments so folks can see them on the screen or questions. But yeah, I had the same question. I was wondering about, you know, the water, my comment about the water and stuff. Can that lead to mold? So you answered literally one of my questions. And then, you know, I've got another one. Oh, no, here we go to the audience. Greta says, oh, she's just saying hello from Holland. Well, that's where my ancestors hail from. So I don't know a lick of Dutch, so I don't know what groten uit means. But maybe hello from Holland. Hello from America to Greta and all those watching from all over the world. I love our international audience. That's pretty special. Here we've got Holly who says, hello, angels. So grateful to be joining you here again. I think that means such valuable information. I look forward to it every week. Holly, we look forward to having you guys on live in the chat every week. It makes this fun and interactive. So thanks for being here, Holly. We love you too. Who's next, Jeremy? We've got Agami, who says, good morning. And I always butcher you guys' names every time, so you still love me, right? Good morning. Does Revita sinus, can that be shipped into the Philippines? I was hoping that can be shipped. Jeremy, if you can get word from Vanessa or one of the store people on that, that would be helpful, because I can't remember the answer to that. But we will try to get the answer to you. Or you can send me an email and I'll answer that later for you. ScottRitzema@gmail.com, and I'll get you the answer to that. But yeah, that Revita sinus, very, very helpful to boost your immune system and get that stuff up there where the viruses tend to try to attack. Balance, using Barbara's sustain me principles as best as I can. Oh, she's addressing Debbie. She's admonishing Debbie to balance like Barbara teaches. Every day is new with God's grace. Love that comment. His mercies are new every morning. Crystal says, I didn't know that he taught a course. I need that information, please. Well, here we are to provide it. Sprouting with Steve, URL. Pastor Steve, what your URL again?
Yes, it's sproutingwithsteve.com.
.com. I didn't want to get the end of it wrong. So there you go, Crystal. Go to sproutingwithsteve.com. Get the course. She wants to learn how to grow the micro sprouts. Yeah, that's step one. And those lentils, isn't that so simple, guys? Everybody after this live stream should get some lentils, get a jar, and give that one a try. That's so simple. It'll get our feet wet and get us interested and enjoying the sprouts. Next, who's up next there, Jeremy? Jennifer says, thanks for coming on and sharing with us. So, Pastor Steve, a little thank you from Jennifer H.
This is great.
And Crystal, please put the code. Jeremy, put the code back up, please, for the course. And while you're doing that, Pastor Steve, do you do alfalfa sprouts?
Yes, I did see that note in there. Yes, alfalfa and clover are very easy to grow. I typically grow them in the trays, that green tray that I showed you with the purple Rambo radish. You can grow them right in those trays, and they're delicious. Some people say, "Oh, I don't think I'm gonna eat sprouts because they probably taste terrible. I'll stick with my cheeseburger." But that's wrong. Sprouts and microgreens, depending upon which ones you get, can taste delicious. And then if you add certain kinds of seasonings like you do to a normal salad, like with lentils. Lentils really don't have a lot of flavor. There's a mild, kind of an earthly taste, but when you add a little bit of seasoning to them, oh, they're just fine. And you can do lots of things with lentils. I put them in my granola. I put them in my oatmeal. I just stir them in the morning, and you really don't hardly taste them. It's like eating a regular bowl of granola, and you've got your blueberries and your strawberries or your bananas or whatever else is in there, and your soy milk or almond milk, and you're just adding a big mega dose of living food to your bowl of cereal, and your body will appreciate that. So,
yeah. I've put them in my cereal as well. And one thing I wondered is, do you ever throw them in a smoothie?
I typically don't, but there's different ways to do this. I don't. Some people ask, well, can you steam them? You can, but you're going to lose some nutrition from them. So you can put them in wraps. You can do lots of creative things with them. But what I like to do, like I say, I put them in my cereal in the morning, and then when lunchtime comes, I like a big salad. So that's my preference, but there's lots of ways to eat sprouts and microgreens.
And when it's in a big salad, you're making a good healthy dressing. I mean, sunflower seed dressing or something like this, right? And then you've got a very nutritious lunch. What are the best for sprouting? Agami asks.
Well, I would say lentils are probably top on the list because they're so simple. Anybody can do it. And peas are also very easy to sprout. Same method, as I mentioned, the jar method. Rye and barley is a grain. I love to grow those, very simple. People have their preferences. For me, my preferences for the microgreens are the buckwheat and the sunflower greens. And I like that kick from the purple Rambo radish. But there's many different kinds of seeds, just like there's many seeds you can grow in your garden. It's the same thing with sprouting. But alfalfa, clover, broccoli, mung, peas, lentils, those are some of the staples that people just grow regularly.
Now I can imagine, the version of myself 25 years ago. When you say peas, I'm going to go to the grocery store to the freezer section and grab a bag of, green peas from in a bag, and I'm going to put them in the jar and expect something to happen. Give us a little
Yeah.
bit of guidance on,
Yeah.
where do you
Well,
get lentils? Somebody who's eating McDonald's, they may have never even heard of a lentil, eaten a lentil. I grew up, I had never eaten a legume, a lentil, a bean of any kind growing up. So, sometimes you got to meet people like, okay, step one, like you said, in the course, you
yeah,
literally walk people step by step.
yeah,
Most people have never seen peas except in a can or a frozen bag of cooked
yeah,
peas.
yeah. And if you buy a bag of split peas, they're not going to sprout.
Right.
So with lentils, you can get lentils. I always like to start people with lentils because you can get them just about any market in a bag. Some people say, well, do they have to be organic? It'd be better if they are, but if they're not, I'd still grow them anyway because the amount of chemicals that happen to be in a seed itself is very, very small. And then when the seed grows and the nutrition multiplies, the chemicals do not multiply. So and the benefit of the nutrition is going to get the chemicals out of your body anyway. So I wouldn't worry about that. There is a website that I recommend in my course. It's True Leaf Market. It's a fantastic company that's got all kinds of seeds. And so it gives you lots of different options. But the simplest thing is to start with the lentils. So with peas and certain things you can get at the market, certain stores or groceries that have health products, you can get barley and rye, buckwheat. There are many things you can get just at a regular grocery store or at a Walmart. But there's other things that you do need to go to a specialty place like True Leaf Market, order them online. And I know there's a lot of people watching this from different countries. So there's got to be places around where you live where you can, buy seeds. But like I said, the simplest one. So with peas, you go to a garden, you can even go to a garden store where you buy peas for your garden. If you plant peas and then you grow them, you can take those peas and you can sprout them. You don't need to put them in a garden, you can just put them in your jar. So, like the picture I showed of the pea sprouts. So, there is a little bit of a learning curve, and you do have to do a little bit of homework if you want to have a variety of seeds available to you. But I teach all this in the course, and the more you learn, just like anything else, Scott, there's a learning curve. The more you do it and do your homework, the more you learn, and it's worth the effort to take the time to learn how to do it.
Well, I love that you can have such a quick turnaround. Like with most things, you have to spend quite a while studying, learning, figuring out what you're going to do before you begin the project. But with yours, you can start right away. Like step one, it's kind of like in school when you learn to spell cat. It takes all of, okay, that's what this one says, and this one says, and this one says, and you're off to the races. You've got a word. You've got your lentils that same, within a day. That's pretty special because then it's not,
Right.
oh, this overwhelming thing. I have to take this degree in this course. You're eating
No.
your sprouts as you're taking the Pastor
Yeah,
Steve
that's right.
course.
And this is not a seminary education where
Right,
you have to get a
right.
degree in sprouting and you can't do it. A lot of people don't do it because they think it's too much work, too much time. I don't know what to do. That's what stops people. But if you go on to sproutingwithsteve.com and join the course, that's going to be behind you because you'll
Yeah.
learn what to do. I got a call the other day from Shelley Quinn. Shelley's a good friend of mine at 3ABN. A lot of people know her around the world, and she called and she said, "Steve, tell me how to grow those lentil sprouts again. What do I do?" And so I explained to her simple. You just put the seeds in the jar, you soak them for 5 or 6 hours, pour out the water, and then you rinse them once or twice a day, and that's it. And they'll grow right up in the jar. This is a great jar of lentils, and it's a lot cheaper doing it yourself than going to the market. You can buy maybe a little container of alfalfa sprouts that might cost you $5, but you can buy a bag of alfalfa seeds where you can grow 20 times the amount for that same amount of money. So it's a lot cheaper to just learn about it. The Bible says, my people are destroyed for lack of knowledge. And of course, that has to do with the knowledge of God, but the principle applies. People don't sprout for lack of knowledge, but the more you learn, you'll get it. And like I say, my motto, you can do it. It's
Hmm.
doable.
I do confess that I have purchased those overpriced sprouts at the grocery store when I'm on the road. Usually get the alfalfa, and I'm just like, yeah, you can make so much more. You're saying this is cheap. This takes seconds. This is a no-brainer. Jeremy, who else do we have chiming in? Who can we say hi to or answer any questions?
Okay, now somebody has a question
Crystal
here.
just says thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I see Aurora saying, as a cancer patient, she's sick and tired of hearing this amazing people saying my stuff is better, and that's for this is my cost. Everyone's trying to take a bite. Why are those videos not free? Well, we put a lot of time into those videos, took a lot of effort, and it wasn't free to build the website, sproutingwithsteve.com. And we invested in that, and we still have to pay things for it. And so we brought the price down to under $50, and we feel like that's reasonable. But even if you don't want to buy the course and if you don't want to spend the $50, you can still get a jar and
Hmm.
you can still get your lentils and you can do what I said about doing this, and you can still, do it without joining the course. Our goal is not to make money, but it's to help people. Of course we do. We like the little bit of extra income on the side because we all have bills to pay. But this is not the main purpose of doing this. It's not uh, the course is not expensive and the benefits are there. We don't guarantee, obviously, that it's going to cure everything that ails you. There's all kinds of factors involved in disease and sickness. We also need to combine this with a healthy lifestyle, but it's something that people can start doing right away, and it doesn't cost an arm and a leg, and it will help a person's body. We know that for sure. And the more you do it,
Hmm.
it will lessen your risk of diseases. And if you have a disease, it can potentially uh, help you to get over it. Uh, a lot of factors, but we're here to help. That's why we're doing it. So let's
Yeah.
see. Somebody else, Stacy said, "Can you mix sprout different seeds in the same jar?" Yes, you can do that, but you want to put the seeds where the growing time is the same. So you can put lentils and mung and peas in the jar because it's about the same growing time. So you want to just mix them with in the right way. Let's see. Somebody else said, Maria, as a vegan, do we need to supplement with vitamins? I take vitamin D on a regular basis because I'm up here in North Idaho, especially in the winter. I take B12 because all the main nutrient conscious physicians that I know recommend a little bit of B12. So there are certain supplements that I think can be helpful.
Yeah.
Uh,
I
but
would I would concur with
sprout
that.
is like a supplement.
You know what? That's true. You're getting such nutrient density with these foods. You could view that as your multivitamin. And also, it's not just as a vegan that you want to be taking vitamin D3, and B12. Those are ones that across the board the population is largely deficient in. So everybody should consult their physician no matter what dietary intake you have. If you are eating a whole plant food diet, avoiding refined foods, eating nutritious, high nutrient dense foods like sprouts, but even just corn, beans, peas, rice, fruits, vegetables, potatoes, sweet potatoes, every fruit and green under the sun, and beans and legumes and all and nuts and seeds. You're getting the most nutritious diet, and you also want to look at that vitamin D3 and that B12 as well. And I also look at iodine. That's something, as I don't eat sea
I take
vegetables.
that
And
as well. I
yeah.
take I take iodine as well. And Scott, I often tell people that health is not an instrument; it's an orchestra. So it's not just one thing. It's not just eating sprouts. It's also exercising and getting your sunlight and getting a good night's sleep and drinking water. It's an orchestra of decisions, and you don't have to make all the decisions Overnight, I tell people too, the famous saying, Rome wasn't built in a day. The journey of 1,000 miles starts with the first step. So just take the first step. Small steps in the right direction and if you do this in a long enough, it's going to have a big effect on your life. I read a book once called The Compound Effect that talks about the compounding effect of small choices on a regular basis that are good for you. They will make a big difference as time goes on. So sprouting and growing microgreens is not a miracle cure for every disease, but it's a very powerful boost to add to one's decisions to start living a healthier life.
Amen. Amen. And some folks have been on the screen saying hello. Hello to each one of you that have passed through, including Isabel there. And Crucier says, good afternoon from Guyana, South America. Again, international audience. Don't you love that, Pastor Steve? Alfred says, is clay pot better to sprout with than mason jar bottle? They do need light, right?
Well, sprouts don't need any light. These lentils didn't need any light because there's no leaves. There's just the little root coming out. So this is a sprout. And so if you want to grow them a little bit bigger in a tray, that's when they start getting leaves and the sunlight coming from the window starts greening them up, which gives them chlorophyll, which is even better for your body. So, and I don't know how much of a difference it makes between a jar versus a clay pot. You want to make sure that you're not, whatever you use it's not leaching anything from whatever you're using. Uh, I don't think clay pots are bad. I think there's a lot of ways. I tell people, when if you go to Taco Bell and you buy a salad, you can use your little tray and you can grow sprouts. So you
Why
can,
not?
yeah. So I mean, there's all kinds of little things you have around the house, little trays that you can use. There's many ways to do this, and you try to keep it simple. I believe in simplicity. And like I said, just learn. The more you learn, God will guide your mind and he will help you. Okay, Holly asked, what about red lentils? Oh, yes. And somebody else said, what was the name of the website? So the website where I get my seeds is trueleafmarket.com. And I don't know if they ship overseas, but True Leaf Market is a great place to get seeds. I teach this in my course. And they've got all kinds of options. And they also have one of their products is a lentil fest, which has green lentils, blue lentils, brown lentils. So you get the color, in your jar. Typically, when I grow lentils, I just buy them. I actually have a whole bag of lentils that I bought, I think 20-pound bag from Bushels, which is not far from where I live. So I get those things in bulk, certain things in bulk. But True Leaf Market has lots of options,
Mm-hmm.
and a great way to
Eileen
do it.
asks, "Are we in New Zealand?" And no, both Pastor Steve and I are in the United States, and good to hear from everybody from all over. She also says, "I put sprouts in waffles." German Seventh Day Adventist in New Zealand taught her that. Oh yeah, the Seventh Day Adventist health enthusiasts. Got to give a big
Yeah,
thumbs up
great.
there.
Yeah, great.
Er,
As I mentioned, Scott, if people are living in different countries, you just have to Google what stores around you
yeah,
have sprouting seeds and sprouting supplies. So that's what you have to do.
just
I went to
confirmed. Oh,
Whangarei
please.
once, Argaville, Wellsford in New Zealand. I had meetings there years ago. I love New Zealand and enjoy the beauty that's in that beautiful place.
Just to confirm, Pastor Steve Ernestine is asking, can you sprout alfalfa in a mason jar?
Yes, you can. You can. And actually, once they start growing up, you just want to make sure that they don't. The idea is not to. You don't want too much water, or they will rot. Now, with alfalfa seeds, they're a very small seed. So if you put alfalfa seeds in a jar, I would fill up the water, and I would only soak them for about 3 hours, and then get all that water out. Want to get all the water. You don't want them sitting in water. And then once or twice a day, you give them a little rinse. And then many times you can also tip your jar, put it somewhere like in a sink and tip the jar so any extra water will come out as as the jar is sitting there. And then the alfalfa seeds will start growing. And then once they get big enough, they'll actually start greening up right in the jar. You'll get, because the sunlight, at that point, you want to take them and put them on your counter. And so the sunlight, it doesn't have to be direct sunlight. You don't want direct sunlight. You just want it to come through your kitchen window or any window, and those little leaves will start greening up. So I've had lots of jars that are just packed with alfalfa, and then you open up your lid and you have to really pull them out because they're jammed in there. But so answer to your question is yes. You can grow alfalfa, clover. I prefer, if I'm growing alfalfa into a microgreen stage, my preference is not to use a jar. I like to use those little green trays. So you moisten it at the bottom, you sprinkle in your seeds, you use the spray bottle, keep them moist, put a lid on it, and then maybe a couple times a day you take the lid off and give them another little spray and let them settle in there. And then once they start growing, you take the lid off and then you expose them to the sunlight, ambient sunlight through the window, and you'll have a big tray of alfalfa greens. I've done this many, many times. Alfalfa is a great microgreen to grow.
Excellent. Thank you. Next person, Maria, says, oh, we already, that was the one that Pastor Steve read off of his screen. So, Jeremy, we can go on to the next one. Thank you, Maria, again for that question. Ogami says, does sprouts can be eaten throughout the day for breakfast till dinner? Pastor Steve, am I right that you recommend, I think, all of every single guest that we've had, and the science is pretty clear. We want to be eating these at our meals and not taking in,
Correct.
Snacking on sprouts between meals.
Yes, that's correct. I don't recommend eating all the time throughout the day, because then you're always taxing your digestive organs. We need to give the body a rest. So we eat and then we rest. We eat and then we rest. But you can have them in the morning. You can have them in the afternoon. You can have them early evening. There's no there's no restriction as far as what time of the day but I do recommend, like Scott said, eating them during a meal for sure.
Great. And Stacy's question, Jeremy, Pastor Steve grabbed earlier from his feed as well. So thank you again, Stacy, for that question. That was good to learn that tidbit about you got to have the sprouting time the same if you're going to mix them. Holly is back with, I apologize if this has already been covered, but I'm curious about sprouting chickpeas and black lentils. Pastor Steve, is that doable?
Of course, yeah. Black lentils, any kind of lentil that I'm aware of, sprouts great. Chickpeas are it's a little trickier, but you can certainly do it. You want to make sure that you get good seeds. So if you start growing something and if they smell or if they're just not growing well, the problem probably is you just don't have a good batch of seeds. So, but with garbanzo beans, chickpeas, I've grown them many, many times. You can grow them in a jar. I also have upstairs a little tray that has holes in the bottom with a little lid on it, and another tray underneath to catch the water from the coming through the holes. And so with garbanzo beans, I like to soak them overnight, and I keep them in my jar, rinse them until they start growing, and then I pour them into this other little tray that has holes so they get more air, because garbanzo beans, you just got to make sure that they have air. But if you do it right, and it's trial and error, so don't get discouraged if you have a bad batch. It happens to everybody, and you just keep doing it. And once with the garbanzo beans, they'll start growing little tails. I don't grow them very big, just a little tail. That's fine. You can put them in your blender, and you can blend them up and get living hummus, which is great with some lemon and whatever else you put in there.
Garlic.
Yes, garbanzo, garlic, onion powder. So chickpeas they're very good to sprout.
Excellent. Thank you, Holly. We've also got Crystal. What are the best super sprouts to start with? I hate a few health challenges. Oh, I think that means I have a few health challenges. So, Pastor Steve, you've mentioned the lentils, peas, the easiest ones to start with. Yeah. Anything else you want to reiterate there?
Yeah, lentils, peas, mung, rye, barley, Those are all simple. They grow the same way. You grow them just a little bit in a jar. Alfalfa is also easy to grow. It's a big staple. Some people are concerned about, they say, well, what if we get sick from our sprouts? They're going to have mold or diseases. That very the concern that was in the public a while ago, that doesn't happen from home growers. It's commercial enterprises that may use water that is contaminated. And so then the news media will say, don't eat alfalfa sprouts, they're going to get you sick. But that doesn't happen in home growing. It's just very, very rare. And I mean, you can get sick anywhere. Sometimes I think people are too careful, and they don't do what's good for them. But I wouldn't be concerned about that.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody asked something about what happens if you do it wrong. Well, yes, like I said, if you do it wrong, who was it? Henry Ford that said if you make a mistake, it's only an opportunity to start again, only more intelligently. So you learn from your mistakes. And the biggest problem with growing things is typically the room is too warm or the seeds are not good seeds. And you'll find that out pretty quick if you're growing seeds that aren't good. So some things you can just get at the market, grocery store, that's fine. Other things, other seeds, if you want more variety, you get them from a place, whether an online place or a local place that actually sells seeds that are designed for sprouting. And it's not hard to find. You can find them, and a lot of varieties out there.
Yeah. Jeremy, who else do we have? Sharon says from Knoxville, Tennessee, hey, two of my favorite speakers in one show. Pastor Steve, thank you for inspiring me to get my sprouting jars out again. I got lazy, but it is really is easy and delicious. Thank you, Sharon, for that
Oh, yeah. Thank you,
testimony.
Sharon.
I think that really encourages others to do the same. And we've got Daikin. What about beans like black beans, red beans, and kidney beans?
Yeah, those are trickier. It's not that they can't be done, but they're harder. Those kind of beans. Lentils are much, much easier. Mung, peas, those are the staples. But you can try it. You can take a little bit, try a few. You want to soak them, put them in the jar, keep them, moist so they don't dry out, but not, you don't want to, the idea is you don't want them to dry out, but you don't want them to drown. So you have to kind of, you learn how much water, uh, if you don't, or if you like with lentils, I typically say give them a bath once and then rinse them twice a day. But I wanted these to grow quicker. So I think I only rinse these once a day because when seeds start growing and they're a little bit on the dry side, they grow faster because they're looking for water. The idea is you just don't want to let them, get too dry, but you'll be able to see that. But with those beans, if you do grow black beans or red beans or kidney beans, try it, see how it goes. And I would just, once you get just a little tiny sprout, I would say we're good. That's it. Once you activate a seed and it starts to grow a little bit, you've made a lot of progress. And I wouldn't let them grow much bigger than just a little tiny seed. Sunflower seeds are like that too. You can grow them as a microgreen, like I showed, but if you get a good batch of seeds, you can grow them in a jar. And you just want to grow them just a little bit, and then they taste just like sunflower seeds, but now they're activated and they have more nutrients. And that's a great sprout is sunflower seeds.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you for the question, Dakin. I appreciate that. And Cheryl says, as far as I'm aware, Ellen White didn't talk about eating sprouts in Counsels on Diet and Health. So Cheryl's referring to a late 19th century health reforming author. There's a book called Counsels on Diet and Health, Diet and Foods, actually, is the name of the book. Excellent book. In fact, all of our listeners, speaking of the author Ellen White, check out the book Ministry of Healing. That's kind of like the basic entry level health reform book from that era. And it is unbelievable how accurate and up to date to our day that book was. It's called Ministry of Healing by Ellen White. And I'll let Pastor Steve get to the question, of course, but I do want to just emphasize and invite
Mm.
people. In fact, just email me. I'll send you a book. This is like one of those where I'm like, the great controversy, the best book ever. Just email me. I'm going to send you a copy for free because that's just, I'm in ministry and we've got the ability to be able to do that and help people and send a book out. So we'll send you a ministry of healing. Email me, scottritzema@gmail.com. And I'm going to send you Ministry of Healing by Ellen White. Amazing book. Now, before we go on, we got Jeremy. Go back to the other one if you wouldn't mind, because I want to let Pastor Steve answer that question, and also mention that during the late 19th century and mid 19th century, the health reformers of that time were making claims and giving advice that we now recognize half of it was silly. But the Ellen G. White recommendations, which as a believer in Christ and receiving the guidance of God, brought us stuff that's held the test of time. And that book, Ministry of Healing, it only gets confirmed by every single scientific discovery and research report over the last 140 years or whatever since it's been written. So just a little hat tip to the Ellen White Ministry of Healing. But Pastor Steve, go ahead and answer the question from the point of view who's somebody who appreciates the Ellen White writings. What do you say? She didn't recommend we eat sprouts. It's kind of a challenge to the dialogue today. What do you have to say?
No, it's true. She didn't, but she did surely recommend eating more natural foods. And she talked about knowledge increasing, and it wasn't a big thing in her day. But she also didn't talk about supplementing with B12 or vitamin D3. She didn't talk about that either. But we know that that is very valuable for the body. So I believe that God guided her mind, and I'm a strong believer in her writings. But just because she didn't specifically talk about how to grow sprouts, she did talk about the importance of eating natural foods. And there's nothing more natural than a seed that is growing. She talked about growing food in your garden. So whether you grow something this big or whether you grow something this big, it's still, you're growing something for your health. Here's a verse in Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 9, where it talks about wheat and barley, beans, lentils, millet, and then preparing these. And there's a whole company called Ezekiel 4:9 based on this verse, Ezekiel 4:9. And what they do is they take these and they sprout them a little bit and they put them into bread. And they sprout them, then they grind them, and then they dry them and grind them and make bread out of them. So Ezekiel 4:9 bread is very, very good. So the writings of Ellen White give us principles, many different principles. And even though she doesn't specifically deal with everything, she also doesn't talk about going to the gym. But that doesn't mean we shouldn't go to a gym. It just means she didn't particularly talk about that.
And didn't recommend against sprouting. So, we can look at science, we can look at health outcomes, and we can do things that have not been advised against by those that we respect and trust because we see the results. And so, yeah, to go to the principles, and what's more natural than these seeds growing into their most nutrient dense, nutrient packed phases. And it's not that you're living only on, like, we need to do temperance. Everything healthy, do it in moderation. And that which is not healthy, avoid it completely. And so if sprouts are healthy, then they're a part of a balanced diet. In addition to eating your grains and fruits and beans and vegetables and greens and nuts and seeds, incorporating sprouts and microgreens is only going to help. But it's not like you're going on the microgreen diet, eating only sprouts or something. I don't think that would be imbalance. So I appreciate that, Cheryl. Thank you for the.
Yeah,
Go ahead, Pastor
some
Steve.
people ask me, is that all you eat, Pastor Steve? And obviously, no. It's just a supplement. I just want to get some more nutrients for living food that I grow myself, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. It's very healthy, it's good, and it's easy to do.
Marta asks, please specify the best kind of water for your sprouting. Are you looking at distilled water, spring water, tap water, alkaline water? Does the kind of water matter?
Yeah, great question. Thank you, Marta, for asking that. Where I live in North Idaho, we have 5 acres and we have a well. And we've tested our water, and our water is good, safe water. So that's what we drink. If you live in a place where you don't have access, it depends upon how far you want to go with this. I think that the cleaner the water, you can distill it, you can, use reverse osmosis or whatever kind of filtration system you choose to get. The cleaner the water definitely is going to be an improvement. But for people that just have access to water from their sinks and their faucets, city water, I would say that that's a whole lot better than doing nothing. So, any water that you use, unless it's contaminated, is definitely it's going to work. It's going to be good. The benefits of what you're growing is going to offset any any small thing that's in the water that shouldn't be there. But like I said, I'm all for, if you want to take the next step and filter your water, it's certainly an improvement. But if you don't have a filtration system, the point is you can still grow your lentils anyway. Your body will still respond to the good things that are in the sprouts.
Thank you. Maria asks, not sure if I heard that you can add them in pancake batter?
Let me know, and when you make pancakes, invite me over and put some blueberries on there, and I'll try them and see how good they are. I think you can
Yeah.
do it. I think you can do anything. Like I said, there's no hard and fast rules that you can't do this or you can't do that. Experiment, try it, see how it goes. You can definitely put them on the top of your pancakes. You can mix them in with your blueberries or whatever you put on there. And so try different things and see what you like. Check it out, experiment, see what works.
Alfred says, thanks, Pastor Steve, for sharing and expanding on this wonderful subject with us. I look forward to undertaking your course. So looks like you've got a new student there, Pastor Steve and Alfred, and many others who I'm sure haven't mentioned it in the comments because it seems like a pretty smart move forward to give sprouting a try. Tina says we use well water, but broccoli sprouts, we add a bit of canning citric acid to stop the broccoli from getting slimy. Sounds like a
Yeah,
good
that
tip.
doesn't hurt. That doesn't hurt. Broccoli sprouts are a little bit trickier. They're a small seed. So the way I grow broccoli sprouts is I'll put a little bit in the jar. I'll soak them again for about 3 hours. I don't want to over soak them. And then I want to make sure that the all the water is out. And then I rinse them, maybe once or twice a day, and they will start growing in the jar. I've done this many, many times. Now, broccoli sprouts don't have a heavenly aroma. They are kind of pungent, but that doesn't mean that they're bad. Now, if they stink, you can tell this is a bad batch that I wouldn't eat them. But I like to grow, and I've run out of my broccoli season. I need to buy some more. But broccoli sprouts have a substance called sulforaphane that is a very, very strong fighter of cancer. It's been studied, researched, and what I like to do is grow my broccoli sprouts in a jar for about 5 days, and they're yellowish before they get green, and I keep it in the dark. So I want them to be yellowish. I don't want them to be greened up in the jar because when they're yellowish, which means they don't have the leaves I'm talking about. The leaves are yellow before the chlorophyll gets on them and greens them up. And so when they're more on the tender side without getting greened up, then I just pull them right out of my jar and put them on my salad, and it works just fine. And you'll get a boost from those broccoli sprouts. So that's the way I grow them. But if putting in a little bit of citric acid works to help, make them better, then I'm all for that. Like I said, there's many ways. For those that are cat lovers, they don't like this phrase, but there's many ways to skin a cat. And I have cats, so I do like cats. So, but you get the point. There's more than one way to do things, and you have to find out what works for you.
Pastor Steve, everybody. Steve Wohlberg, sproutingwithsteve.com. Subscribe to also his prophetic channel on White Horse Media on YouTube. And we're going to have a prophecy discussion pretty shortly here over on Belt of Truth Live as well at 5:45 p.m. Eastern. But folks, thanks for joining us. Thank you for your questions. There's the QR code for the Steve Wohlberg Sprouting course. And I hope you check it out and check out White Horse Media on YouTube as well, which has had a big impact on my understanding of prophecy. So we'll discuss that going forward. But of course, thank you, Jeremy and team, our producer, Christian Digital Network. From likes to lives change, scan that QR code, subscribe to their CDN YouTube channel as well. And Jeremy, who's our guest next week? Do we have it on the screen? Or we'll just have to wait and find out. Follow the Shorts feed because you always get the announcement ahead of time from yours truly announcing. There it is. Oh, yes, Dr. Tim Pernick on the world of chiropractic health and also discussing the distinction between allopathic medicine and natural approaches and what are the benefits and pitfalls of each potentially. Stay tuned. We'll see you then. I'm Scott Ritzema, host of LSR Live, and we'll see you again 4 p.m. Eastern, 3 o'clock Central on LSR Live on